All right, so if you've ever built anything in React, you've hit this wall, right? How do I get data from a server? Seems like it should be the easiest thing in the world, but in the React world, oh boy, it's a whole thing. Today, we're going to untangle this mess. We'll look at why it's so surprisingly tricky and what your best options actually are.
And look, if you've ever just wanted to throw your hands up in the air while trying to get data into your React app, trust me, you are so not alone. This sentiment, this idea that it's all just a mess, it's everywhere. Go on Twitter, go on developer forums. It's a feeling we all share, even the pros.
So the big question is, how did we even get here? I mean, why is such a basic, fundamental task so all over the place? Well, it's really because React itself changed. It started as this simple little library just for building UI, right? But now it's the backbone for these huge full-stack frameworks. And with that evolution came this massive debate. Where should you fetch your data? On the client, on the server, some weird place in between? Every different answer to that question gave us a brand new tool.
Okay, so let's rewind and start at square one. We're talking about the absolute classic approach, the one that's built right into every modern browser, just using the Fetch API. This is the original, the OG. Think of it like driving a stick shift. You're in full control.
So using Fetch is kind of like getting a meal kit, except they only send you the raw ingredients. No recipe, no pre-chopped veggies, nothing. You get this one function that can go out and grab data, and that's it. You want to show a loading spinner? That's on you. Need to handle an error if the network fails? That's your job too. You're the chef, the server, and the one washing the dishes.
Now, the best part about Fetch? It's already there. You don't have to install a single extra thing. But, and this is a big but, that's where the simplicity ends. You are literally responsible for writing the code for every single state. Is it loading? Did it fail? Did it work? And caching? Forget about it. You're building that entire system from scratch. So yeah, for one tiny little request, it's totally fine. But for a real app, it becomes a tangled web of code, and it happens fast.
So naturally, after all that manual labor, developers were like, there has got to be a better way. And there was. Enter TanStack Query, which is probably the most popular, dedicated solution out there. This isn't a general-purpose tool. It's a powerhouse, a specialist, built for one job, taming that server state in your React apps.
Okay, so if Fetch was just the raw ingredients, think of TanStack Query as your favorite food delivery app. It doesn't just bring you the food. It remembers your past orders. That's your caching. It tells you when the food's on its way. That's your loading state. And if there's a problem with the order, it lets you know. That's your error handling. It is built from the ground up to make your life as a developer so much easier.
I mean, the amount of stuff this thing does for you automatically is just wow. We're talking automatic caching, automatic retries if a request fails, background updates. It's a massive productivity win. But there's always a trade-off, right? First, you're adding another library, another dependency to your project. And second, there's a bit of a learning curve. You have to wrap your head around its concepts like stale while revalidate, which sounds super complicated, but it's actually a genius idea. It just means it shows the user the old cache data instantly while it quietly goes and fetches the new stuff in the background. Super slick.
And that leads us to the new kid on the block, the one that's kind of blowing everyone's minds right now. Server actions. This is a totally different way of thinking that comes straight out of modern frameworks like Next.js. And honestly, it's designed to completely blur that line between your client and your server.
Get ready, because this concept is a little wild when you first hear it. Imagine you're in some futuristic restaurant. You don't have to call a waiter over to take your order. You just say out loud, "I'd like the pasta," and the kitchen just knows and starts making it. That's kind of what server actions are like. You're sitting in your client component, you call a function, and that function just runs, but on the server. It feels like magic.
And this flow just shows you how seamless it is. Our user clicks a button, that click calls an async function that has a little use server tag at the top. That function's code, it executes on the server. Maybe it talks to your database. And when it's done, your UI on the client just updates. The most important part here is what you didn't have to do. You didn't write an API route. You didn't write a fetch call. It just works.
The upside here is huge. For a lot of your operations, you can just get rid of that entire API layer you used to have to build. The code that gets the data can live right there next to the component that displays it. But, and this is a big one, this magic isn't free. You are tying yourself completely to a specific framework's architecture, like Next.js. You have to buy into their whole ecosystem. And it forces you to kind of rethink how you've always built apps. It's a whole new mental model for sure.
Okay, so we have three options on the table. The do-it-yourself fetch, the specialized powerhouse TanStack Query, and this new, futuristic server actions thing. So, how on earth do you choose which one to use? All right, let's break it down.
This little table right here is the key to everything. It really simplifies the decision. Look, if you're making a simple one-off request in a small project, just use fetch. It's fine. Don't overcomplicate it. Now, if you're building a big, complex client-side heavy app and caching is giving you a headache, TanStack Query is your absolute best friend. It is the king for a reason. But if you're all in on a full-stack framework like Next.js and you want that perfectly integrated experience, server actions are where things are headed. So you see, the question isn't which one is the best. The real question is, which one is best for my architecture right now? That changes everything.
And really, that's the most important thing to take away from all this. There is no silver bullet. There's no one winner. A good developer, a great developer, understands the trade-offs of each of these tools. They know when to pull fetch out of the toolbox, when it's time to install TanStack Query, and when to lean into the power of server actions. It is all about matching the solution to the problem you have today.
So I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. With things like server actions getting more and more popular, and that line between the client and the server getting blurrier and blurrier, are we heading towards a future where data fetching isn't even a task we think about anymore? Will it just become this invisible piece of plumbing that the framework handles for us completely? Kind of wild to think about. I guess only time will tell.